Justin, hi. Dina Keenan, thank you for joining me.
Right.
Thank you for having us.
Justin, you've had quite the journey from industrial design at RISD in Rhode Island to building and selling Elastin and now Rebalance Health. What initially drew you to the health and wellness space? I'd love to learn about the early days.
Well, the health and wellness space. Well, the transition from cosmeceuticals, which is the elastin skincare side, over to the health and wellness space was primarily driven by a request from Nestle to my partner to explore looking at supplements for skincare. So there was the immediate connection between elastin and supplements. And we ended up pivoting towards hormone and wellness as opposed to skincare and wellness through that way. So we evolved through a natural progression of research, due diligence, and trying to figure out where there was a real need in the marketplace, as opposed to just brainstorming without really researching it. So it came out of research and identifying the need.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay then, let's go back a little bit and understand how Elastin got started in the first place before we get to Rebalance, because I'm curious about the psychology behind how a person with your background finds this interest to start an e-commerce business. And then it seems like from Elastin to Rebalance, it was an easier transition. It sounds like because of the supplements for skincare led to a different kind of supplement maybe.
Well, yes, to answer your question in more complete form, I was a graduate of the Rhode Island School of Design, but in my senior year, I was studying industrial design animation, but I also attended classes at Harvard, Yale, and MIT in their MBA program. And it was in that year that I learned the integration between business and the creative process. And that stimulated both the left and the right side of my brain. And so I've always had an interest in product design, but also in business. And so I was always attracted to startups, entrepreneurship, because that's where the creative juices would come from. And then the practicality of the MBA type programming and kind of skill sets come into play. And so I went through my early years working at Disney and working at industrial design houses and product design houses. I ended up building FBI buildings in a private real estate development company. Again, design, architecture, business, construction. It evolved in a natural progression until one day I actually met my mentor, who had this idea around using HGH in a skincare line to help heal people from injuries or procedures at a faster rate. And that involved the initial concept of using HGH in a skincare cream or product. And when it launched Elastin initially, our formulation had HGH in it. And after more research piloting it, the feedback was they didn't like the HGH, and we pivoted towards peptide technology, and we came up with Trihex technology, which is now our award-winning component of the Elastin skincare line. So it was interesting that we evolved into the skincare line, we evolved into new emerging technologies of peptides, and then from the success of Elastin, we evolved into larger companies approaching us to develop supplements for skincare, and that's the natural progression that occurred. But it was really my experience up until the point of Elastin was lots of trials, errors, mistakes, being an employee for many big companies and small companies, and basically going through the gauntlet of understanding what works and what doesn't work, how I function well and how I function, with flaws and not showing up in my best possible self. So it was a really interesting evolution, not only of my skill set, but as me as a human being, as a spiritual being, showing up for work at a certain energy level and a certain respect and responsibility towards others. And that education and process took decades, right? Until finally I met my mentor, who basically educated me and told me how to do this in a different way. And together we created Elastin, and together we have now created Rebalance Health.
Mm-hmm. So now, when I look at a story like this, I would think that, well, this guy probably learned a lot from Elastin, what to do, what not to do, and then probably identified a market opportunity to go after it. But that's not what happened, right? Your wife had, I'm not exactly sure, but some of the challenges maybe she was dealing with possibly, I guess, led to the creation of Rebalance, not necessarily pursuing a market opportunity. Is that right or no?
No, I wouldn't say that's the correct iteration of the story. What happened was that we were developing Rebalance, and during that process of development, our wife became ill and was diagnosed with Cushing's disease, which is an overdevelopment of cortisol in the body. It was serendipitous that for the 6 to 12 months prior, I was developing Rebalance Health focused on cortisol. So when you hear the story that the universe sometimes shakes you and then sometimes they punch you in the face, well, that was my punch from the universe, because I was obviously onto something, but I needed to hurry up and really figure it out. So for me, what I love about the way that this transpired for me as my journey was it solidified my morals and my ethics, which have always been, in my opinion, top rate. But I wasn't willing to compromise. There's always someone that says, hey, let's use this alternative ingredient or this alternative packaging or this alternative method because it'll save us time and money. But it isn't always for the better quality product. And so I didn't compromise. I never compromised on this journey in my decision-making for quality, for morality, for the planet, for sustainability. Everything was the right thing because there was too much at stake, not only for my shareholders and my investors, not just for my wife, but for what I realized to be a global issue. And I wanted to be at the forefront with the best quality solution out there. So for me, the story was one of conviction, ethics, and just simply doing the right thing because it is the only path to follow.
Mm-hmm. Something that caught my attention was your commitment to, I guess, the science and testing part of it. It seems like you've invested heavily in clinical studies, which you don't really see that much in the supplement space. I'd love to hear more about that. I saw the the delivery system for Rebalance being 300 times more bioavailable than competitors. I actually don't even know what that means. If you could explain it, that would be great.
That's good customer feedback. Thank you for that. So it started with Elastin. We were doing punch skin biopsies. We were proving that our science was working. We were published very early on with our Trihex technology and our clearing of the extracellular matrix. We were very passionate about not just having some woo-woo cream that had some benefit, but you couldn't prove it scientifically. And when you deal with doctors, and we were dealing with plastic surgeons, dermatologists, etc., we needed to actually show public studies or published studies that were developed and undertaken with the correct protocols, with IRB-approved protocols. And I believe Elastin has well over 24 studies, if not more, that have been well published in medical journals of dermatology, etc. And that gave us credibility. And I learned the importance of getting scientific buy-off and Elastin, and Rebalance was going to be no different. Particularly because, if I'm going to be blatantly honest, supplements in the media's eyes is a dirty word, because it's very easy for someone to make a supplement, private label it from a manufacturer, and find some study that was done a long time ago or even recently on the NIH website and say, hey, here's a study that says maca is good for you. I have maca in my product, therefore maca is good for you. But it isn't quite that simple. There's a bit of a jump that was made there. You really ought to test your product in order to be able to have the similar claim. And in accordance with pharmaceutical guidelines, FDA guidelines, etc., you need to be able to substantiate your claims with a study that you have done that follows the right protocols and procedures so that your not misrepresenting the brand. And that is something that we have made sure that we have done. We have so far completed 2 IRB studies. One was open labeled, one's a blind placebo, and we have another double-blind placebo underway right now, so that we can back up a product and support the consumer understand exactly what our product does for you, because you cannot make these claims unless you have the scientific support to back it up.
Mm-hmm. I've seen you mention that you don't believe in Me Too products. Wellness market is very crowded, right? So how do you identify genuine opportunities for disruption versus just incremental improvements?
Due diligence, really. Where is the need? Where is the pain point? For me, I did a deep dive into endocrinology just out of complete curiosity as to what's happening in the world. Also, when I started the company, I was researching it in 2019. We formed the company in Q4 of 2019, and it really started to take off in 2020 with our development. For me and for my partner, we were really curious as to why there was this huge uptick in HRT, hormone replacement therapy, whether it was testosterone supplementation or estrogen progesterone uptick. But it seemed like doctors were administering HRT very, very quickly with very little due diligence on the patient. And everyone was getting remarkable results, so the doctors didn't care. They just kept on administering it. But I was curious as to what was going on. And I was interested in peptides that were being issued. I researched peptides in the marketplace. Then they all got reclassified as biologics, which means they're not fit for human consumption. And they all got taken off the market, yet there's a black market around it. And so it was very intriguing to me. So doing a lot of research in that area, I would kind of pinpoint cortisol. Cortisol was very interesting to me, primarily because not a lot of people spoke about cortisol, and not a lot of people truly understand what cortisol is. But more importantly, almost every molecule in the human body has a cortisol receptor, meaning when cortisol is elevated, you feel it systemically from your head to your toe. You feel it throughout your entire body. And that really intrigued me. And when I did a deeper dive, I realized that I call cortisol the master hormone. I believe I'm not the first one to coin it, but I didn't know that at the time. So to me, cortisol is the master hormone. And it's that hormone that is responsible for our ability to keep our body in balance. If we're in fight or flight, our cortisol is elevated, and our body starts having symptoms which are to be expected with high levels of cortisol, because that's our body's alarm system. Typically, if you go back to when we were, cavemen, right? We would use it as our alarm system. There was a fire. If there was a, big animal coming towards us, a woolly mammoth, a saber-toothed tiger, our cortisol is spiked, and it's designed to give us that big urge so that we can move, and then the adrenaline kicks in. That gives us the ability to take action, and we're running for our lives, right? When you're running for your lives, you don't need metabolism. You don't need libido. You need everything to get out of there, right? That's what you want to focus on. And so what has happened since then, if you flash forward to basically 1990s, we invented the email, internet, and shortly thereafter, iPhones, technology started to come into play. And what happened was our world accelerated. We were much calmer, we were much slower in the 70s and the 80s, right? But as the 90s and 2000s came along, everything exploded. The pace of our world exploded. Content, social media, streaming, all came flooding into our world. And that raised our cortisol, because now you have anxiety associated with it. I need to get my emails. My email box is filling up. I've got, responsibilities. I want to binge watch Netflix. And what all this content does is it actually elevates our cortisol and prevents us from being in a natural circadian rhythm, which is really straightforward. If your cortisol is high, you can't fall asleep quickly, and you can't stay asleep. And no matter who you talk to, everyone agrees. The human body needs 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep every night. Children need more. Adults, that's the minimum threshold. In that period of time, you only get 60 to 90 minutes of deep sleep. And guess what? In those 60 to 90 minutes of deep sleep, you make all your hormones you need to function the next day. And so if you wake up in the night or you get less than 7 to 8 hours of sleep, you're operating at a hormone deficit because you forfeit the deep sleep.
Do you get 8 hours sleep now, Justin?
Sorry?
Do you get 8 hours sleep now as an entrepreneur?
I get between 8 and 9 hours every night.
And you get up at 4:30 in the morning for a 2-hour exercise?
Well, not 2 hours, but yeah, I get up every morning at 4:30. I'm at the gym by 5, and I leave between 6:30 and 6:45.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but my wife and I are in bed by 8:30, 8:45, right?
Yeah,
but that's my lifestyle. I've done that since kids were born because that's how I functioned best. But essentially, that's the missing link that I think we have figured out, that cortisol prevents you from falling asleep and staying asleep. And if you can control your cortisol to be in normal levels, you are much more likely to get those sleep hours that you need in order to function. But simply, if you operate with 2 or 3 days of consecutive sleep that's less than 7 hours of sleep, you start being sluggish. You start gaining weight. You start losing muscle mass. Your hair, skin, and nails show up differently. Your digestion operates differently. The libido goes away. You gain weight. All these symptoms come up. But the big surprise for us was menopausal symptoms are exacerbated when you don't get your 7 to 8 hours of sleep, which makes perfect sense because you don't get to make the estrogen and the progesterone that you need.
Mm-hmm.
So women are suffering because of their inability to fall asleep and stay asleep. And so with Rebalance, we jumped into some IRB studies focused on menopausal symptoms. And we are published by the North American Menopause Society. We were published by the Medical Journal of Nutraceuticals and Food Sciences, showing that over 104 people were in our study, and it had 100% efficacy, meaning every single woman saw benefits of the product. There were no side effects, and the average reduction in symptoms, specifically hot flashes, was a minimum of 80%. Well, the average was 80%, but most people actually eliminated them. Well, after the study, very few people saw anything less than 70% reduction in hot flashes. And so we decided to do a further study, which we're in right now, for a double-blind study with over 200 women in it to further support it. And the preliminary data is matching the first study. And so we have a natural solution. The ingredients are all natural herbs from Ayurvedic or Chinese medicine, and it's a lozenge. And that's the key difference between us and other solutions on the market, is that our product is delivered differently, and it's a system, because you cannot support cortisol with 1 tablet a day. And that's pretty easy because you have metabolism. Everyone forgets about metabolism. You have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You have a headache. You take it. Pain medication every 4 to 6 hours. Antibiotics every 4 to 6 hours. Flu, cold medication every 4 to 6 hours. Why? Because you have a metabolism. What you put in, your body utilizes. So you can't control cortisol unless you take it every 4 to 6 hours because of technology and content and all the social and environmental impacts that cause our cortisol levels to fluctuate throughout the day.
Justin, how did the product line develop? What was the first product? What came after? I believe you have three or more separate types of products right now.
So we actually launched with a cortisol product, and it was a men's system and a women's system.
Mm-hmm.
And it tasted horrific, but it worked. And so we actually had to go back and reinvent the wheel. We had to really invest heavily into perfecting the taste profile, because it didn't matter how good it worked. If it tasted horrible, people wouldn't consume it. And so we really went back and we really spent a lot of time and money. We used over a dozen flavor houses trying to figure out how to take herbs and roots, which shouldn't be sucked on because they taste so bitter and bad. How do we evolve that to a taste profile that's palatable? And that took a long time to do, playing with different ingredients, excipients, not compromising. I didn't want to put sugar in there or xylitol or sugar alcohols in any way. We wanted to be as pure as we possibly could. And we eventually figured it out. And we made this lozenge taste like a mint, like an Altoid, a healthy Altoid. And you simply suck on the lozenges in the morning, afternoon, and before bed. And the results speak for themselves. People get great sleep, and they wake up feeling energized, refreshed, A lot of women reporting that they're beginning to lose their visceral fat because cortisol basically tells the body you need to store all that nutrients because I don't know what I'm going to eat next, even though you are eating, it thinks you're in fight or flight. So women are beginning to see body fat disappear, noticing testosterone increases, mental clarity is coming back, mood disposition's improving, recovery's improving, workout efficiency is improving. It's really quite remarkable when we just realize the cause and effect, and the fact that we are still humans and we still need to sleep and we need to regenerate and we need to thrive. And by using technology too much, blue light, by not eating correctly, by not exercising, and most importantly, not appreciating how important sleep is, we're suffering.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about marketing and distribution a little bit. How did you sell your first 100 products?
How did I sell the first 100 units of Rebalance?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, we gave it away for free to a lot of people, like influencers and, investors, and we got feedback and so forth. And we just started marketing directly to consumers using digital methodologies. We wanted to keep this product affordable. What we realized is we have a real solution. This isn't smoke and mirrors. We have a real solution to solve a real problem for men and women on the planet. And we didn't want to go through distribution, and we didn't want to go through medical offices because we wanted to keep the price as low as possible. We cut our margins deliberately to be lean in order to make it affordable for people. And that was very important to us. It's an important product to get out there because of its efficacy. And in order to do so, we had to take the burden on ourselves versus going through a distribution channel that's going to mark it up 100%, 200%, and start gouging the consumer. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to make it affordable for the masses.
Mm-hmm. So maybe this is a question for Dina. I'm actually not sure when she started with the company. Mm-hmm. Maybe the early days part of it is still you. But what was working in the early days and from like a marketing channels that are effective? I remember seeing focusing more on affiliate models. And I remember seeing it mentioned that social media and influencer marketing has hit saturation. How are you thinking differently about building brand awareness in the early days and now, and how has that changed?
Yeah, I think I started with Rebalance in October of 23. So they had done some things before. It was mostly through paid media and influencers. And I think the key with influencers at that time, it was a little easier, but the key is also to make sure that your influencers are accountable for what they're going to provide you. And that takes the kind of the strategy of the team to make sure that your influencers are doing what they're supposed to do. So I think early on the company tried that, spent a lot of money, and we had some influencers that, did some things but didn't play out quite like we thought. So we did put money into paid media and a lot of money into paid media and social, which we saw some results, but where we really started seeing the benefit was when we had real people telling our story, because it's such a personal product, especially for women who are in the throes of menopause. They feel lost, they feel unheard. They don't always understand what's happening to them. And so real women who were having 20 hot flashes a day, real women who were literally thinking of leaving their jobs because it was so disruptive and they couldn't function. When they started telling us, this product changed my life, I now sleep through the night, my hot flashes are down to 1 or 2 a day or completely gone, then we knew it was really a story about real people telling real people. Women were also really jaded because we've been led down a lot of paths. As a woman who has been through menopause, I struggled for years, and didn't really understand what was happening. And nobody really prepared me for menopause. My mother didn't really speak about it. So I think our mission at Rebalance is also to empower the next generation of women that there is an alternate solution, that they can try. I started Rebalance in end of October 2023, and within a couple weeks, having been up 8-9 times a night, I was sleeping through the night. I was having heart palpitations. They were gone. I was having joint pain. It was gone. Brain fog was gone. Hot flashes completely gone. It changed me completely. And we were hearing that from other women and similar great testimonials with our other products, the anxiety and the testosterone. So we quickly realized that that was a way that we could really help tell our story. So we're really leaning into UGC now, and then also looking into select influencers who truly use our product. We don't want someone just talking about it if they haven't experienced it. It has to be true and authentic from that perspective. We also leverage PR from a higher brand awareness perspective. So it's an integrated approach, but we're really honing in on what people want to hear. Content's another huge thing for us as well.
Mm-hmm. Dina, for the creator influencers who are watching and listening, what are some of the things that you look for? You mentioned authenticity. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that they need to be using the product. Do they have to be using the product prior to collaborating with you, or how do you select influencers?
We prefer that. We usually send them product, let them try it, and if they're having real results, which all of them usually do, then that's when we want their real story. We don't want to feed information to them. We want them to tell the story. What is their experience? And we really try to keep it authentic. When I joined the company first or second week, Justin said to me, promise me we'll always do the right thing. And so that's what we try to do. We've had influencers call us who say, oh, I'll sell it for you. You want to try it? No. Well, then you're not our person. We really want it to be authentic. And because we want people to trust us and we think that there's so much misinformation out there, our goal is to try to help correct that with knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Justin, what you said earlier about in media, supplements being a dirty word, and your approach of battling that with science and studies to give credibility, I believe that also, from what Dina's explaining right now, people trying to promote it without even trying it, probably those kinds of behaviors contribute to supplements having a bad reputation, right?
There's studies, well documented, dozens of them, that most supplements, meaning 90% plus of them, never actually enter the body. You may swallow them, but they don't enter the body. They get destroyed in the gut and they get urinated out. And so that's the real issue. You're talking about a lack of ethics. Owning something without trying it. It's a different argument in my mind. And we're trying to cut through the nonsense and talk to people that have real issues and that we can really help. And it's pretty much globally. If you've asked the majority of people, how do you sleep? That's their main issue. And it's amazing how the body is actually able to heal itself if you're given the right tools. The problem is we're all addicted to technology, including myself. And it's about building good habits and having a good kind of what we call sleep hygiene, meaning that you set yourself up for success. You try not to be on technology or in front of screens a few hours before you sleep. You try to not have your food and your drink and your meal within 3 hours of going to bed, because as you age, your body can't handle it. You're going to be woken up to use the bathroom. It's as simple as that. You don't want to take on high levels of sugar. You want to make sure your room is at an appropriate temperature in the mid-60s. There's all kinds of protocols that have been well documented, established as being the ideal scenarios to optimize your sleep. And that's what I think we need to work. We need to worship our sleep, because that is the most precious thing we have in order to help our body regenerate and to be as healthy as we possibly can. Then you got to make sure you eat the right foods. You have to, make sure that your alcohol consumption is minimalized or taken earlier in the day, not at night, because alcohol, much to most people's disbelief, is not a sedative, it's a stimulant. because it converts to sugar and then it wakes you up and now you can't get back to sleep. Most people that, have a drink at night, wake up. Why? Because it turned to sugar and became a stimulant. Now you disrupted your natural circadian rhythm, your natural ability to generate hormones for the following day, and you're going to be operating at a hormone deficit. So it's not a scare tactic. It's just we've become creatures of habits, entitlement, and we've lost our roots. Our roots are very much aligned with the sun, the moon, and the planet, and we're doing everything we can to fight it because we're entitled and we've been spoiled with content, technology, and it's like we've taken the apple from the tree all over again.
Justin, you're 2 brands into it, Elastin and Rebalance. You've learned a lot. If you wanted to start a new brand today, it can be any category. Knowing what you know now, what would you pick?
Exactly where I'm at.
Really?
The mission is too important. The world needs rebalance. The world needs to wake up and be aware that how we're living our life is actually killing us. We are literally killing ourselves with technology. And this isn't about money. This isn't about, having a successful branded company for ego. This is about doing the right thing and helping the planet. And that's what Rebalance is about. We found something. We've developed something. We've researched it. We know it inside and out. We've got plenty of science to back it up. We've been published. We've been listed as one of Time Magazine's best inventions of 2024. We've won awards. We're finalists for the Glossy in the wellness category. We have a great product. It's affordable, it's high quality, and it is changing people's lives. Why on earth would I want to start another company in a different category? The mission is too important.
There's a new award on your website from the Time Magazine. Tell us about that.
It's really straightforward. We submitted, our PR agency submitted us for an award with Time Magazine for Best Inventions. They evaluated thousands and thousands, if not more, different companies in different categories, and they thought that we deserved a special mention in the edition.
Which product?
We're doing. Sorry?
Which product won that award? Is it the whole line or just one of the products?
It is the Hot Flash product. It's the Hot Flash system for menopause. I'm sure you are well aware that menopause is a major issue. 49 million women enter menopause every year globally. 80% of those women will suffer from debilitating menopausal symptoms. And up to a few years ago, maybe some would argue even today, women are brushed off, like you're imagining that it isn't that bad, it isn't that debilitating. And it is. It is that debilitating. It is significant, has significant effects on the quality of your life. And women have not been taken serious in terms of that this is an issue. It is not a disease, and women are not broken. And that really rubs me the wrong way. It is a beautiful rite of passage, and it isn't being treated appropriately. And we believe we have a solution that's all natural, very straightforward. Take 3 lozenges a day. Be mindful of your practices in terms of how you sleep and how you set yourself up for sleep, and watch the symptoms dissipate. I can't think of anything more important right now than dealing with that. More women suffer with that than people are diagnosed with cancer. And I'm not saying that menopause should be associated with cancer or the seriousness of people dying from this horrible disease, but menopause is debilitating, and it is affecting women unlike anything else on this planet right now. The numbers are far greater than people realize.
Final 2-part question. Justin, Dina, feel free to answer both. Top 2 problems giving you a headache right now, and top 2 priorities that you're excited about for the year.
Getting the word out to as many people as we possibly can is our biggest challenge. We are not flush with cash. Trying to get advertising, get media to write about us or cover us is challenging because of the dirty word with supplementation. We actually have a solution, and it is extremely challenging in today's marketplace to get the word out quickly with a big splash. It's not so easy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. What are we excited about? helping as many people as we possibly can. There's nothing that drives us into work every day that's bigger of an inspiration than seeing how many people we can help. Men, women, children, all alike, whether it's our anxiety system, our hot flash system, our testosterone system, or just, we have a new product coming out called Balance, which is for anyone that isn't symptom-based, that will help support hormone balance. It is critical, and it's really exciting to see how many people we can support on a daily basis. Dina, what would you say? You're most
honestly, those. It's not unlike us to have the same answer, but it really is about the mission of helping people. I think we've all worked on brands that are great brands, global brands, and they've been wonderful. But to have something that really is about helping people, and when I was, before joining Justin, that was my criteria to join a company that was truly mission-based and that could help people. And this company is all about that. It's everyone on the team works tirelessly. We're a small team. We are a startup, so there are challenges there. But the PR and getting, you have a study that is so dramatic and so amazing as ours, and the media doesn't really care about it, is mind-blowing to me. They'd rather hear about the best lip gloss. I got more traction sometimes when I handled Charmin globally. Because for some reason it's a supplement. So that is our biggest challenge. And that's so frustrating for us because women and men and kids, my nephew's 20, he's on the anxiety. They need this product. We can help people. So it's why we get up every day and why every challenge we face, we figure out a way around it, because it is a much bigger mission. And we just keep getting those testimonials, and that's what keeps us going because we know it works. So I really agree with a lot of those same sentiments.
I can't thank you enough, Bora, for the opportunity to help us spread the word, because it's people like you that are helping us get the word out so that we can help as many people as we can.
Justin, hi. Dina Keenan, thank you for sharing your journey with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.